George Clooney and Brad Pitt's new movie, Wolves, is on Apple TV Plus September 27th.
That's where I want you to be now.
So if you want to see George Clooney and Brad Pitt, go to Apple TV Plus.
You got to start the story there.
Or if you want to see Brad Pitt and George Clooney, go to Apple TV Plus.
I am enjoying the show.
And if you want to see their new movie, Wolves,
You can't do it, I'm going to help you out. I can do it, so do it.
definitely go to Apple TV Plus.
Admit it, it's cool. Okay, fine, it was very cool.
Wolves, streaming September 27th on Apple TV Plus. Rated R.
This episode is brought to you by Microsoft Azure. Turn your ideas into reality with an Azure free account. Get everything you need to develop apps across cloud and hybrid environments, scale workloads, create cloud-connected mobile experiences, and so much more. Discover what you can create with popular services free for 12 months. Learn more at azure.com. That's AZURE.com. And sign up for a free account to start building in the cloud today.
I'm Phil Kitramalides.
And I'm Sid Lowe.
And every week we bring you the latest from La Liga in the Spanish football podcast. Sid, this season's going to be amazing, isn't it?
We've got Kylian Mbappe at Real Madrid, Dani Olmo at Barcelona, and Julian Alvarez at Atletico.
Don't forget Nico Williams at Athletic Club as well.
And definitely don't forget Leganés. Their mascot is literally a giant cucumber.
Hear all about it every Monday in the Spanish football podcast.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to your post-match Raw podcasting to you from my field here in beautiful rural Ireland. I'm Trev Downey, and joining me to give their immediate reactions to Liverpool 3, Bournemouth 0 in the Premier League from Anfield are Dave Hendrick and Jim Boardman. Dave, I don't know if it says a lot about how almost perfunctory that win was, that we spent the pre-record few minutes there talking about microphones and recording devices. Is that an indicator that it was very much the most functional of wins? Does it take away anything? I don't think it does. It's probably quite a compliment to the fact that it was a very sort of competent performance, certainly in the first half. The second half, I felt a little bit annoyed at how easily we invited them on. I wanted to see us carry the fight a little bit more, but maybe that's what you have to do when you're playing 2 games a week. I don't know.
First, before we get into it, Trev, I must tell you that I'm absolutely traumatized by an event that's taken place today. I was the victim of a vicious assault today as I was forced to listen to Stephen Warnock.
Oh dear.
And my ears are in tears. There's actual tears coming from my ears.
It's a miracle.
Such was the trauma that he put them through with his inane drivel throughout the game. In terms of the game, though, I don't know how we're 3-0 up at half-time. We have played well, but they've played well as well. It wasn't a 3-0 half. If it had been 4-2, I think that would have been a fairer reflection on what we actually saw in that first half. I thought we had some nice attacking play, but I thought we were far too easy to play through, and I thought that carried on into the second half quite a bit as well. But you look at the goals, the first one, it's a great pick out by Ibu, it's a lovely bit of work by Diaz, but ultimately it's a Kepa mistake. Our second and third goals are moments of brilliance. The second from brilliant work by Trent. The third, obviously, is just an outstanding goal by Darwin, but the move that leads to it is really good as well, with the flick on to Mo, the ball round the corner, and then Darwin doing what he did. But I felt sorry for them at half-time because they hadn't been dominated. They hadn't been completely outplayed. They didn't deserve to go in 3-0 down. And I thought it was great credit to them that they came out in the second half and they continued to try and play their football. But they never really like went for it. You know, they were always sort of a bit controlled, and I assume that's trying to prevent us overloading, going the other way, and catching them on the counter a couple of times. But ultimately, we could have scored a couple more goals. I thought we fell in love a little bit too much with the idea of getting Mo on the score sheet.
Yep. So did Mo, by the way. So did Mo.
Yeah, so did Mo. But at the same time, he did also pass up a couple of really good opportunities himself. One of them where he worked in past Kirkes and then could have driven on and taken the shot, but he tried to feed Darwin and undercooked the pass. Overall, I thought we played well. I thought there was some concerning things about our performance, though, in terms of how easy we were to play through and the opportunities they were able to generate. I thought Kelleher had to make a couple of good saves. They obviously had the goal disallowed, which I think was rightly disallowed. But then they also have that big chance immediately after that where Semenyo really should do better because he's lost Robertson cutting across from right to left. Like, I think when they sit down and look at the game, they're going to be disappointed by the scoreline. And I think when we sit down and look at the game, we'll be very happy with the scoreline. But I do think the coaching staff will be a little bit disappointed with some aspects of the game. But I suppose ultimately it comes down to whether or not you want to analyse the scoreline or the game. And a lot of people will just analyse the scoreline and they'll listen to me saying this and say, well, what the fuck are you moaning about? We won 3-0. I'm not moaning. I'm just pointing out things that are concerning and potentially get punished more when we play better teams.
Yeah, well, that is absolutely the purpose of this show. If you've drifted this far and you find yourself irritated, off you go. This is not for you. We are actually here to analyse what actually happened, not what we wish had happened or what we would like to talk about only. I will see your Stephen Warnock and raise you Kenny Cunningham for levels of trauma. My ears also were assaulted by Kenny. I turned him off early doors with great wisdom. I didn't listen to him at halftime again, showing great insight. And then at the end, I because we won, and I wanted to see the replay of the goals, I gave in and left the coverage on. And the fella is such an incredible... I don't know what happened to him. I think probably as a youngster, he must have been bullied by Scousers. But one way or the other, he really, really has a hard time saying anything positive about Liverpool at all. It was comical, actually. The host and his fellow panel mate, an ex-Ireland international, were just looking at him going, what is going on with you? Seriously. I think Kenny's the kind of lad, he probably waits till his children are asleep at night, goes in and sits beside their beds and just critiques their breathing, saying, you know, it's like, that's below par, that's not up to standard, you know. He's just a negative chap. And he really does seem to have all his ire and discontent focused on Liverpool. But we will leave him at it, Jim, and we will focus on the game that we just saw. And Dave's right. I think we have to admit that it was very much a mixed bag. And we do have to say that they carried the fight really well. They had loads of opportunities. They never stopped attacking till the final whistle. And on a different afternoon, we have to be honest and say that if we hadn't converted some of those chances, and if they had converted some of theirs, it could have been a lot tighter. Certainly not the comprehensive victory that some of our other ones have been this year.
Yeah, and I get exactly. First of all, though, as well on the commentary stuff, I had to sort of flip between two streams, so I was kind of exposed to both sides of that coin, and my ears aren't bleeding quite as much because I think just, you know, having a bit of a break and changing in between kind of just rests things a little bit and breaks other parts of your brain, but it's probably going to have more long-term damage for me, so you might not hear from me for a while. But yeah, I mean, we have immediate trauma, and Jim is going to get CTE from listening to that.
Delayed reaction trauma.
You suddenly might, just don't ignore my Twitter account midweek because he'll probably be going up on one. So I thought, you know, the start, I was thinking, oh my God, come on, lads, get playing in this game. You're at home. And I would say, though, I mean, when we got, just before the goal, I was thinking, you know, we've got a little bit of control back in the game now. We're causing them more problems than they're causing us, although problems might be a bit stretching it. But I felt, you know, we're sort of getting control of the game now. We're doing okay. And then we scored the 3 goals, obviously, which were kind of, 10 minutes apart in total. and in a lot of ways kind of knocked their confidence and gave us a bit of a cushion, obviously a massive cushion. But my worry was, even at sort of 3-0 down, I'm thinking, this is a team that can come back and score goals. And I think there was an interesting quote, I've not got the exact quote, but Slot said something, he was being asked about the Forest game, I think it was ahead of the Milan game, and he was, about lessons that can be learned from that game. And I think he said something along the lines of how, in many ways, he's got more to learn from the games we won. There's more things in those games that he wants to look at. And I get where he's coming from, because, you can kind of overanalyze a game that you've lost, and, it's all ifs and buts, isn't it, sometimes? But I think it's these sort of, ignore the bad days at the office games, it's these games where you're playing pretty well, but you're just leaving the door open here and there. And I think you're right. Against another team on another day, I mean, you could argue, I think Kepa's not a bad keeper, although the Queeves-Kepa reunion still didn't go well for Kepa, but at least he didn't get to miss a penalty this time. I think it's not a bad keeper to be up against, and maybe he helped them a little bit more, if you're going to argue on that side. But overall, yeah, you've got to be in it for 90 minutes, and I don't know what it was. The second half we can no doubt talk about if we really have to, but it just felt like, at 3-0, don't just think it's job done. And maybe this is something that Slot's going to do. He's going to be like that when you're 3-0 up, reduce the number of chances you're taking and the risks you're taking. But to me, I can't get away from the fact that I like Liverpool at the other end of the pitch. We can be good in defence, we can get clean sheets, and we've got another one today. But at 3-0, you're not so much feeling jumpy, but you're thinking, only takes one goal for them, and this starts to turn the game around. So I think we've just got to build on it. And I think what's important is that when Slot and his team are back at the training ground and they're going through all the analysis and talking to the players, talking to each other and looking at what's to be done, there's a hell of a lot to be learned from that game. Yeah, loads of positives. Best way to learn is off the back of a 3-0 win where you've got things you want to learn from. I'd much rather do that than be losing like we did against Forest. But it was a great win, great goals. And that's the thing, though. I think every single one of those goals was a sort of wow goal. On another day, wow goals don't go in, do they? So that's that's the takeaway really for it.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. That's kind of where I was driving the bus on that one. They are individually all kind of, as you say, wow goals, and on a different day, it does possibly end up a lot closer. Which is what I meant by it not being a comprehensive win. It's not to take anything away from the general Liverpool performance. Some excellent showings there today, and one of the failings in the second half that became kind of more glaringly obvious was the misplaced passes and stuff like that cost us an awful lot against Nottingham Forest. But we were sufficiently excellent in a condensed period of the first half and generally throughout it, to be honest, to get our noses well in front. And we should just start by having a quick look at the lineups. We obviously had an enforced change where Queeving Kelleher came in and featured very, very heavily during the game. I think, for the most part, could really hold his hands up and say that it was a great showing by him. There were two absolute clear mistakes by Queeving which could have cost us on two separate occasions. One, he got us out of the problem that he created himself, and another one, we kind of rallied and cleared the ball. But generally speaking, you'd have to say it was a really, really good showing, kind of confident, but also very, very solid showing from Kelleher, stepping in for Ali. A little bit vague. I suppose deliberately so on what's going on with him and how long that'll be, but I'm assuming it's short term. Anyway, we went with Trent and Robbo, Kanate and Van Dijk, which is, for a lot of people, our best four. Gravenberch, McAllister and Szoboszlai is the Arna midfield, and Darwin Núñez got his chance today in the central role up top with Diaz and Núñez either side of him. It's a strong looking bench with Yaros there, plus Gomez, Chiesa, Jones, Gakpo, Jota, Tsimikas, Kwanzaa, Bradley. Nothing wrong with that. It's a long time since, we've been able to regularly look at the Liverpool bench and go, yep, love it. Loads of options there. Bournemouth today went with Kepa in nets, and as Jim rightly pointed out, this is a guy who obviously has a lot of talent, maybe just a bit askew between the ears with the mentality side of things, but is obviously a very talented keeper and put in a good showing today against us, despite the fact that he conceded 3. The wonderfully haircutted Araujo at right back, They had Zabarni and Hyson and Kirkes. They had Cook and Christie and Semenyo, Cliver, Tavernier and Evan Nielsen is the way they finished their 11. And off the bench, they have some familiar looking names. Travers, obviously well known to some of us. Senesi, Brooks, Scott, Utara, Smith, Sinistera, Hill and Unal, and most of them got a bit of a run today. The referee was Tony Harrington, someone I'm not that familiar with, and it'll be interesting to see if he comes into our discussion later on. I'll just get a quick feedback from you, Jim, on the Liverpool 11. I mean, there's only because there's not a lot to say about it, just a couple. Your immediate take, just briefly. Were you glad to see? Were you glad? I know it's without hindsight and all the rest of it. Were you glad to see Darwin get his goal?
Yeah. I'm glad to see him get his chance to start the game as well. I mean, if there's one thing about Slot, he's not rotated as much as you'd hope he would, maybe. But then again, up until now, it's been a game every week. You've had time in between. But now you're thinking, it's been a league game, Champions League game, League Cup game. You want some rotation. The only excuse I could kind of give for not rotating as much today is because maybe you want to have an Uber rotation in the week for the League Cup game. But it's not about you don't want to make wholesale changes. You don't want to kind of put almost a completely different 11 out in the next game. You want to make a 2, 3, 4 coming in and out, sort of blend from one game to the next. Maybe try and keep your back four fairly steady by all means. But on the other hand, I can see why he doesn't want to rotate. If it's doing well, don't rotate it. So it's just going to be how that's going to affect us as the season goes on. And with strikers, I mean, what they need is they need minutes, they need goals, they need confidence. Darwin got that today, and I'm glad he got the chance to do it. But, if you asked me before the game, will he do that? Who knows? But you don't know until you try. So I was glad he got his game right at home, where he's going to get, he gets a lot of support from the home crowd.
Oh, yeah, it's beloved, yeah.
You know what I mean? He gets, I'm not saying he gets away with more, but he kind of does get away with more, doesn't he, than some players would, because he's just loved by the crowd. And that is ideal. That's perfect. That's what he needs. I mean, he repaid managers to play today, but it could so easily have gone another way. But I think he's got to do it. He's got to get the best out of all of these players. And if anyone, I was going to leave anyone out, I think, as great a player he is, maybe Mo just doesn't need to play every game. He is getting older, and we don't want to be paying the price later on.
And every minute of every game as well, Jim. And that's the thing. I'll just bring you in on this one too, Dave. Like last night on AIP, we had a conversation about, I think Cy Brundish was highlighting that Gravenberch has hit the amount of minutes that he normally plays. Remember, we were having this conversation about Dom Szoboszlai this time last year. We're having this conversation about Gravenberch and his minutes now. And it's just interesting because Jim's brought it up there in terms of the rotation. It's not like there aren't options there. It's not like Jones couldn't have started. It's not like we didn't have people who could come in. I suppose we are a little bit thin on the ground in the midfield department, to be fair to the manager. But, it is an interesting way to go. I'd say Jim is right, and there'll be, possibly a damn near an entirely different 11 against West Ham. But interesting to see. And just, again, on the Darwin thing, we get another topic of conversation on Friday evening show was just the little bit of angst. I think you and I spoke about in the last row as well, that perhaps Darwin's not quite, what he used to be, because he got in on himself psychologically or mentality wise. So it's easy to be wise after the event, but it's worth a treat today to give him that start. And to be fair to the kid, it's not about just giving him the start. He has to take the opportunity. And he was a completely different lad today. He was sort of aggressive, front foot, taking on things, just looked like a different lad, the kind of lad that I've seen and we've all seen wreak absolute havoc on defences in the past.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes, and games consoles. Visit libertyshield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a brave decision to start Darwin, given Cody played so well midweek.
Yeah.
I think we all came away from the Milan game just thinking, oh, well, that's Cody in for the weekend. And Mo is going to start, we know that. And Diaz has been playing really well. So there's your front three. It's going to be Mo, Cody, and Diaz. And then to not start Gakpo, to bring in Darwin, it's a brave decision from the manager because, like you said, it could easily have backfired. And Darwin clearly is lacking in confidence at the moment. But the thing with that lad is you can question his footballing IQ, you can question his quality at times. We can never question his desire and his willingness to put in graft because he does work his arse off. And even when things are going badly for him, he will put in a shift. And I thought today he put in an immense shift. He was all over the pitch, winning the ball back, tracking runners, doing all the little things you really want from your number 9 out of possession.
Staying on side when in possession as well.
That's the thing, yeah. Staying on side, actually contributing positively to attacks, making decent runs. Now, we'll get to one later where he makes the wrong run, but ultimately it didn't really matter. But you're just hoping that he can deliver moments of quality then and contribute to winning. And as I said to Carl on Scouted, we don't need him to score to play well. Darwin can play well and contribute to us winning without scoring because he offers so much in other areas with his work rate, with his hold-up play, with his running the channels, with his willing to take the ball on and carry it over distance. But today he does produce that moment of magic, and the performance rewarded the manager. The goal rewards Darwin for the performance. And let's be honest, the guy looked so relieved. It was the one good thing Stephen Warnock said on commentary. It looked like a massive weight just lifted off him when that ball went in and he turned around. He just looked so relieved, like, right, I've got one. Now I can get on with it. Now I can crack on. And he was very unfortunate not to get a second half, which the referee did give a free kick for a handball, but if it had gone to VAR, had the ball gone into the net, it would have been given because the ball hit him in the chest. So, yeah, I thought a brave decision. In terms of the rotation, like, it's a funny thing because we've all spent big parts of the last 2 years saying, aren't Arsenal really lucky that they never have to rotate? That they can always roll out the same 11 game after game after game? Because they've been able to manage minutes. It's not necessarily about managing starts, it's about managing minutes. Now, agreed with the point on Gravenberch, he is getting right up against the line of his minute total for a much longer period of time. But at the same time, he is only 22 years of age. You would expect that he can take on a bigger load. As you and Jim have pointed out, we likely see a heavily rotated team, maybe a completely rotated team against West Ham. I do think the manager is shortening his own hand a little bit with his midfield options. I understand that Endo has not played well in 2 sub-appearances, but that was also the case last year, and when he was given starting opportunities, he did perform pretty well. So I do think he can give us decent performances in certain games. I do think Tyler Morton should be an option at points to come. Hopefully against West Ham he gets to start. And I thought today, when he came on, I thought Curtis Jones looked really bright and lively. So he'll be another option for us as well now. So, like, I do think there's more depth there than people give it credit for. Quality is a different option, a different thing. And you could say we don't have the quality we need, and that's fair enough. But overall, I think I agree with this approach because, you know, there's a lot of schools of thought about player rotation and how you go about managing your squad. But the Dutch school, with Raymond Verheyen as very much the kind of leading voice on it, with periodization, is very much that you should always play your best team. And that you manage their workload in training, and then you manage the minutes when they're on the pitch. And if you're 2 and 3 goals up, then you can start to take them off and rest them. So, look, as long as it works, why would we complain about it?
I've just had a Twitter flashback. Is Raymond Verheyen the lad who's been referred to as the egg?
The egg, yeah. I think Brundish hates it.
Man.
He wrote a book. I think it was called Football Periodization, Always Play Your Best 11, or Always Start Your Best 11. And I remember asking Brundish would it be worth buying, and I won't repeat what he said, but it was not a positive reply.
Oh, that's tremendous. That's an enjoyable flashback there. Let's get into the details of the match, or else we'll be here all night, because it is quite a busy game. A lot happens, and Jim, you and I'll take it up as far, why not, as the first goal in 26 minutes, even though there's a lot in this. The first event of the game really is a yellow card for Christie on Diaz. We see Gravenberch intercept a bad ball a minute later, and with 3 ahead of him, gives the ball away then himself. Evan Nielsen and Ibu are sort of hot and heavy with the challenges early doors. That's shaping up to be an interesting thing. And just a little word in case I forget later on, Ibu Konate is still making clearances in the last 2 minutes of injury time back to back. And the lad is an absolute warrior. It's great to see him absolutely brilliant week in, week out now. I love it. They actually seem to go a goal ahead on 3 minutes, Jim. It's Semenyo after Kluivert carries, in my opinion, way too far from left to right and hits a kind of cross shot. To be fair, there's a little bit of weak midfield play that leads up to that freedom for Kluivert to do that. His cross shot goes, like I say, across the face and is met by Semenyo, who is offside. VAR check it, and it's disallowed. 6 minutes, Mo does really well, lofts a kind of right-footed ball to the back post, where Robbo, of course, hits the side rigging because Robbo is not going to score. 7 minutes, Diaz drifts in at pace from the left and drives a beautiful shot that's tipped over the bar in a central kind of area. From that, we get nothing. Queeveen does well to read a counter-attack by them soon after that. Another awful pass by Gravenberch in 9 minutes, coughs up possession for no reason at all. And you're thinking, oh, God, don't have one of them. But he didn't eventually. 11 minutes, a decent move from us, ends with a kind of set to Dom and a wild effort by Szoboszlai. 12 minutes, a world-class through ball by McAllister. Absolutely gorgeous pass. Mo is coming in from right to left, as you'd expect, and takes it with his left foot, with his favourite foot, hence hitting a kind of instep shot that's tokenistic at best. It's easily saved and it's a corner. Kepa flaps at that corner, but we do nothing from it. Darwin then takes in a forward pass really well, rolls the defender in a central position, and with a bit of space in front of him, hits the ball inexplicably at Kepa. He had Trent outside of him, and Trent has a right go at him afterwards. Another yellow for Kluivert, holding back Gravenberch. Then Queeveen, a lovely block on Semenyo. After, to be fair, Queeveen caused the chance himself by giving the ball away a couple of minutes beforehand by dallying on it when he was in possession, and it got blocked down. 21 minutes, Diaz, an incredible run at goal, beats 2 men, and Kepa managed to smother his near post effort. He's trying to sneak in at the near post there on the left-hand side. And then there is another kind of bit of awkwardness. Ibu had to give away a corner in 23 minutes, and this is the other thing I wanted to mention. Nobody picked up on this, but a couple of passes before that, Queeveen Keller hits an unnecessarily shitty ball to Ibu, which begins a series of awkward passes and in the wrong place. And it ends up in a corner. Like, you know, to go back to what you were saying earlier on, Jim, on a different day, things go differently there for us. Areola is having a bit of a cry in 25 minutes and picks up a yellow card himself, but within a minute, we are 1 up. It is Diaz. Ibu plays a lovely ball forward, sort of semi-diagonal, but it goes to a central place. He's down in the right back position. Diaz is sweeping in left to right. He takes it kind of centrally on his knee around the edge of the box. As it drops into his stride, he sweeps a shot back right to left into the corner. It's a cracker of a goal. But to be fair, the keeper's in no man's land. He's nowhere near in a position to be able to do anything about it because he's kind of stranded himself outside the box. It's a weird one by him. I said earlier on, he's a lad who obviously has great talent, but that was a bit of a head rush, to say the least. The opening 25, 26 minutes then up to that goal, Jim, fairly indicative. They did carry a threat, and we were capable of being our own worst enemy. This is, again, another thing we've seen go through this side. And then we can have these moments of intense quality, which does separate us out from the majority of other teams, and hopefully will continue to do so throughout the season.
Yeah, I mean, those moments of madness that we get, the Keystone Cops feeling starts to come back. You know, you start having flashbacks of Martin Skirtle and Lovren on his bad days and all of these things. You know, it feels like that's still in our DNA a little bit, and we have those moments. But I hope we're going to get better at dealing with those moments, though, because everyone makes mistakes. Things go wrong. It's life. It's how you deal with the mistakes. And I think on the whole, we are getting better at dealing with mistakes. I mean, Kelleher dealt with his own mistake, didn't he, with that loose ball that ended up needing him to sort of block an effort not long afterwards. I hope we can do more to eradicate them, just more to, you know, just to sort of put some thought into how to deal with these situations, because they do happen. We're passing the ball back, we're under pressure. But that, you know, it's the times for the rosette ball, it's the time to just get yourselves in positions where you can be an out ball for someone. You know, it's just thinking about the right things at the right time. Sometimes maybe we're too focused on scoring the next goal when we should be focusing on, no, actually deal with this mess you've just caused. Then we'll see about scoring the next goal. I think it did feel a bit like that in the beginning of the game. There was this kind of end-to-end feel just for the first few minutes. And I can't believe it was only 3 minutes that they scored the goal that was eventually disallowed, because it felt like that was a long 3 minutes. A lot of backwards and forwards going on. But looking at the replay, it was clearly offside. I'm not sure which commentary I was listening to by then, but they said it was close. It didn't look too close to me from what I saw. But the thing is, it was close enough to be a worry. And I think this is where you get, you know, glass half full, glass half empty kind of territory. We handled it perfectly, and we kept them offside, and they did not score. You know, made sure they went offside, and they did not score. On another, you're looking at it from the other point of view, you think, my God, that was an escape. So I don't like it to be that tight, but we did escape. We did, I think, restrict them to a certain extent then, but there were moments. And I think when you were just reading out those sort of highlights up to that point, there was a lot more stuff from us about coming close, and that was good to see. And it was from all different players. You know, it wasn't just one player doing it. It was coming from all over. You know, Dom's trying to get in on the goals. He didn't do very well with his effort that he got, but he's trying to get in on the goals, and getting goals from midfield is vital. You know, we all sort of focus on goal scorers and the front men, but it's the midfielders often that make up the difference, and that's been how it's been with Liverpool for years. So you need goals from them, and I think there's a few of them looking more likely to score than maybe they were in the past. But yeah, the booking as well for the manager, I was thinking, it seemed like the most innocuous thing to be so angry about. So I don't exactly know what he said, that whether it's been like a culmination of things, a few things have added up, but it just seemed to be, you know, you've lost it over next to nothing, that it wasn't that mad of a tackle or anything. I just didn't get it. It wasn't like a crucial tackle. It wasn't like a goal-saving foul or anything like that. I didn't understand it. But then a minute later, maybe that's part of the problem. You know, we're so busy focusing on that and not focusing on your own stuff. And what did Liverpool do? That was a brilliant ball up from the keeper that gave Diaz the chance. And yeah, Kepa at the other end, bit of a rush to the head. But I still think there's a lot for Lewis to do when he got the ball. You know, he still had to do the right thing. He had to, you know, when keepers come out like that, how often do you end up seeing it being given as a foul and things, because the keeper will go down, and for some reason, when the keeper's outside his box, he seems to be allowed more protection from fouls and things, you know, from coming together. But to me, Diaz just did well, and I still think there was quite a bit to do once he got the ball. But at the moment, he's just looking like a striker who just knows where the goal is. He's looking like a proper finisher. And I'm not saying he's not always been like that. There's been a lot of determination from him when he's played, a lot of he's been really great in the build-up. But in terms of actually getting the goals, it's not always been. I don't know. He just seems to be another step up, and it's mad to think that he was one of the players that was heavily rumoured to be on his way out at the start of the season. Because, he's now looking like a player you've got to do all you can to keep hold of.
When you look at him as well, I mean, the thing was always with Diaz, people wanted to see end product.
Yeah.
We certainly are seeing that, to be fair. And Dave, I don't know if there's anything you want to go back to in that. Feel free to if you want. But, I mean, it's only 2 minutes before we have another goal up, and it's Diaz again. And this is a great move. Trent carries the ball in deep towards the edge of the box. Ends up passing to the left of the box to Diaz, who's drifting in, as you would expect from that left-hand side, takes a touch and finishes with ease with his left foot past the keeper. We spoke, you and I and Raw during the week about Jota and the fact that that's usually his great strength, is that he can use either foot and scuff it deliberately or scuff it accidentally, and he just has that knack of finishing. That was a lovely kind of fluid finish. There was a lot to like about it, and a lovely move involving Trent doing what you want to see Trent doing, coming in from that, getting involved in play and building up play and carrying the ball like only he can, executing those passes with the right weight as only he can. Lots to love about that. Probably we're pausing there before we go on to do the rest of the half.
Yeah, I mean, I actually think they're both excellent finishes from Luis, but I do want to defend him a little bit on I know you haven't criticised him, but on the one where he took it on himself, Stephen Warnock was having a temper tantrum that he hadn't squared the ball across for either Darwin or Mo to tap home. But
this is the chance he created for himself.
Yeah, the first chance that he creates for himself. I think when you've done that much work to create the chance, you're fully within your rights to take it on. I'd also point out that there wasn't a straight pass to Darwin. He would have had to lift the ball over a defender's leg to get the ball to Darwin.
Yeah, they weren't standing there on an open goal, were they?
No, that's exactly it. So it in turn makes it a much more difficult finish. I think he was right to take it on. He drew a good save from the goalkeeper. The first finish is outstanding. The control on the tie while moving at full speed, the second touch to get it out of his feet. And then he uses the defender's momentum really well, because it's Orejo, the right back, who's on the line, but he's coming from right to left. And Diaz realizes, if I put it back behind him, there's no way he's able to stop and get moving the other way. So he just lets the defender come across and puts it back across him. It's really, really good. And then the second goal, like you said, good touch to get it out of his feet and a nice finish with his left foot. But it is all about Trent, because we've seen Trent in that position a number of times in recent years. And sometimes he can pick the wrong pass. He'll try and force things. He'll try and play it a little bit too early. Or he'll try and take the shot on himself, often on his left foot, which obviously isn't nearly of the same quality as his right foot. But he just waited and waited and waited and waited for the exact right moment, picked the exact right pass, lovely weight on it. And it's a really good goal. And we're 2-0 up, despite the fact that they'd had a really good chance and they'd had a goal disallowed. And it had been a fairly even game, even if we were starting to create a bit more. It felt strange that we were 2-0 up, given how the game had gone. But you're absolutely going to take that. And once we got 2-0 up, you could almost feel it become a little bit more comfortable. Like, whatever the chances are that they'll get one, it seems really unlikely they get two against us, because we'd already seen at that point Ibu starting to play really well, Virgil's playing really well. We know how good those two are. I don't think there's a better centre-back pairing in the world. Carragher's fondling himself over Saliba and Gabriel in the week as part of a six-man defence, and ignoring the fact that the best centre-back pairing in England by a country mile resides at Anfield. When those two are together, they are absolutely incredible.
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, We don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of 1 cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.